Jury reaching a verdict in the sex trafficking trial of Ghislaine Maxwell. That is Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend. NewsNation's Rudabeh Shabazi joins us live with more details. Rudabeh.
Nicole, the British socialite was accused of grooming young girls to be sexually abused by Epstein. He's the billionaire financier, of course, who killed himself in prison in 2019. Maxwell being found guilty on 5 of the 6 federal sex crime charges. The only charge she was found not guilty on was enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Maxwell was arrested in July of last year and now faces up to 70 years in prison the rest of her life. The 12-member jury had deliberated for 6 days. Maxwell did not testify in her own defense, and her defense claims she was being used as a scapegoat for Epstein's crimes. But prosecutors say Maxwell manipulated the victims and caused deep and lasting harm to them.
All right, Rudabeh, thank you so much for that. All right, joining us now to discuss the verdict is attorney Rachel Fiset. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us at such a last minute.
Hi, thank you for having me.
All right, so what is your initial reaction to this verdict? I mean, at one point, we thought that COVID, because of the rapid spread of Omicron, was going to delay jurors finally, being able to reach a verdict. So what's your reaction?
I think it's a good thing that this verdict came back before there was any kind of coronavirus breakout, any kind of thing within the courtroom, within the jury, within the lawyers. So this was a very good verdict, a timely verdict. The jury had a lot of testimony to get through. It was testimony they appeared to want to read and really mull over, but they did it just in time before any kind of spread, before the new year and a break.
All right, so Maxwell found guilty of 5 of 6 counts. I want to talk about that count that she was found not guilty of. That was enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Can you maybe explain that charge for us a bit and why jurors would have opted, of all the charges, to find her not guilty on this one?
That's a pretty specific charge that, that had certain elements that would have required specific knowledge of a specific event. And it appears the jurors decided against kind of that specificity. If you can remember, some of this stuff is very old, as the statute of limitations was given a longer period of time because these were children at the time, and they give the children time to become of age before they are required to testify in these kinds of charges in these kinds of cases. So a lot of this testimony was old, and I think that the jurors just didn't find the specificity that they needed as it related to the enticement charge.
All right, so Rachel, talk about the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell did not testify in her own defense. Do you think that was a smart move? Obviously, hindsight always 20/20, but what are your thoughts on that?
It's really difficult to put a defendant on the stand. I think specifically in this instance, it would have been really difficult for her defense team to put her on the stand, and to not suborn perjury would be my guess. So I think that it was the right call not to have her testimony, as she likely could not have given truthful testimony that would have supported her defense. The facts seem pretty clear. That she was very close to Jeffrey Epstein, and it would have been hard to show otherwise. Even if the words came out of her own mouth, it would have, I think it would have set her up to either lie or actually, hurt her own defense.
Well, there's certainly been a lot of conspiracy theories that have swirled, particularly since Epstein's suicide in custody. The defense claiming that Maxwell was being used as a scapegoat for his crimes, but, the jury found her culpable for her role in this as well.
She was just so close to him. I mean, that is part of the prosecution's case, was just to show how very close she was in all of the activities that he did. And it would have virtually been impossible in some of these instances for her not to have known and aided and done the acts that she was accused of doing. So I think that was that is part of the case. That is a part that is undeniable. She couldn't have denied it. And this is what the jury ultimately came to was, yes, maybe he was the main perpetrator, but she was right there with him, aiding him along. And in a lot of ways, this is the case that was never proven against him. The prosecutors got the ability to prove it against her.
All right, well, Rachel, one more question for you. Let's talk about sentencing here. We knew, throughout all of this, she faced potentially up to 70 years in prison. Obviously, no criminal record up until this point. Kind of walk us through what you predict as far as sentencing here.
I heard the defense team will put on all the evidence that they don't think she was the main perpetrator, that she was in many ways along for the ride. They will show what her background is without any kind of prior convictions, without prior crimes. They will try to make her look like a model citizen, and that she was not the main actor in these events. And they may even show that she was under his spell, or that she didn't do this on her own. As far as the prosecutors go, they will make this look like the sex crime case that it is, that really without her help, that these events could not have happened, that she was convicted of this, that this is child sex trafficking. I mean, this is very major. I don't think she will get a light sentence. It to me feels like she will spend a good amount of time in jail, if not the rest of her life.
And Rachel, one more thing. I have to imagine the defense immediately is going to be filing an appeal here.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I don't see immediately grounds for appeal in this case, but she has a lot of money. Likely she can spend some money on the appeal, of course, but I don't see this as a case that would be overturned.
Rachel Fiset, we appreciate so much you joining us tonight. Thank you so much for your insight. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.